What's going on, everybody? Jason Mackey alongside Andrew Destin here. We are at LECOM Park, and we just watched the Pirates with a 13-4 victory against the Atlanta Braves, their first spring training win. Andrew, what stands out to you about this one?
Yeah, there's a few places to start with it, but first, a win. You'll take that gladly. I know the results are the only
It's life-changing.
Yeah,
really.
They're the only thing that matter at this point of spring training.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, come on, game 4. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me, and it was probably the least result-oriented, was just seeing Marco Gonzales get through the start. That's something that maybe to most people wasn't as much of a concern, but just given what he went through last year with the injury history, how the offseason progressed and how the Pirates were able to get him, this is not the same guy of a few years back, just given that injury history. And I think we saw elements of what he can be for this Pirates team. So in good and bad ways, are certainly giving up
threatening.
Giving up 6 hits in an inning and 2/3, giving up 3 runs, not being able to put guys away. That's a problem. But if there's any positive you take away from it, it's that the arm looked okay. He's around 90 miles an hour. You'd like that to be faster, but this isn't a guy who is built on being 96, 97. So
no, but can I have 92?
Yeah, kind of need that.
92? I don't want 89.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there watching the game together, and the 6 of the first 9 hitters, he gets 0-2, which is great, but can't put him away.
Yeah.
In the second inning, he gets 2 outs, goes 0-2, and then goes 0-2 to 4-2, and that extends the inning. I just worried that the velocity and the rest of the stuff is just not good. And the Pirates are banking on a whole heck of a lot from Marco Gonzales, from Luis Ortiz, another guy we're going to talk about in a bit.
Yep.
That was just one of the takeaways that I had. Like, you can feel as good as you want about Bryan Reynolds, Bryan Hayes, and you do. Like, I like what those guys did, but man, just the thinness of the rotation right now, or how many things you're counting to go right. I'm not trying to overreact over one spring training game, but I probably could have been more encouraged by Mr. Gonzales than I was.
Right, especially just given what the narrative has turned into of, hey, these, that was one that was kind of a given of the rotation. You probably
that doesn't look like it didn't look like a given to me.
No, anything far from it. Tomorrow will certainly be an interesting one with Quinn Priester on the mound. He's somebody that I know I speak for you too, if that's somebody that we've got our eyes on, just given what he's meant to this organization, being a former first rounder. But bringing things back to today's game, I mean, Luis Ortiz, that was probably more encouraging.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, but not perfect, right? There were still elements of, hey, this is the emotional Luis who can let things get the best of him, not keeping tabs on runners, even though he did pick somebody off. But I think you're probably less encouraged by those aspects. What your probably best positive takeaway is just that this is a guy who was pumping gas.
Yeah, I mean, was he though?
No.
What?
By his standards, relative to last year,
I mean, there were a couple 98s.
Yeah.
There were also a couple 95s and 96s. Probably more 95s and 96s than 98s.
Yep.
Which, I don't know. It's not everything. Like, I would rather have with Ortiz 96 and well-placed, 96 with a slider and a changeup, than I would 98, 99, and you don't know where the heck it's going. I mean, I get that aspect of it, but I feel like we're at 95, 96, and we still don't know where it's going, or we don't know consistently. So, I was more encouraged with Ortiz, but I still look at, like, they're counting on him to earn a spot or play a prominent role. Same with Marco Gonzales. And I don't know if I saw a lot there, whereas, like, I see, okay, yeah, that's a good mile marker on this road. And I don't know. I feel better about Ortiz than I do Gonzales, but not terribly encouraged by either.
Yeah, I think it's a microcosm of where they're at with pitching. It's a nice thing that they signed Mitch Keller to the extension. I'm sure they're very thrilled about that. They've said it as much publicly, but beyond that, there are still a million questions that remain.
Yeah.
But a stark contrast, the first 3 games of spring was the offense coming alive. And it's not just, those garbage time 7th, 8th, and 9th inning runs. This was Hayes putting a good swing on one and Reynolds putting a good swing on one. Hayes, I was, more convicted in the process. That was resemblant of what we saw last year, where he's working a great AB, getting a hanging breaking ball and swinging at it and knocking it out of the park. I mean, you got to be happy with the offense, right?
Yeah, no, I like that. It's such a key for me, and I wrote about this for tomorrow morning or this morning, as you guys are going to be watching this, but Bryan Hayes being the version of Bryan Hayes we saw over the final 2 months of 2023 is so darn important for this team, and Bryan Reynolds by extension too. Over Reynolds, like last 65, I think he had like an 860 OPS, give or take. If that's the guy they're getting, I mean, that's like all all-star caliber good. You're in that conversation. You don't want at his worst, he was like a 650 OPS guy. You don't want that, clearly. So I talked to Reynolds. This was actually back at Pirate City, some stuff I'd been sitting on about wanting to be more consistent. Obviously, they need him to be more consistent. You need this version of Hayes. But to me, those are two very big keys in unlocking the top of the lineup.
But outside of that, though, there's probably some spots that you still feel a little bit less optimistic about. Right? And I think that's something that's still a huge conversation for us. But if there's anything to feel good about, it's that the two guys you have extended the long-term deals right now look like good spots in spring training, which, again, it's not everything, but it's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, I mean, if you can reduce your number of question marks to like 4, can we have that? Right? Like, I don't know what's happening in right field or second base or behind the plate, at least offensively. Neil Cruz can go either way. Like, I think there's giant upside, but there's certainly reason to say, hey, is he going to play 157 games coming off the ankle? You'd certainly hope so. But, if I can not worry about left field, if I can not worry about third base, I even wrote in there Jack Sawinski, like, if you can reduce his strikeouts, get some more consistency, I'd love to not worry about center field.
Right.
I like the platoon of Tellez and Joe at first. I don't have any problem there. So if you can reduce my number of question marks, that would be great. And two of the easiest, Reynolds and Hayes.
Last one before we get out of here. What do you think of getting another chance at seeing Grandal behind the plate? Gonzales talked highly of throwing to him. You and I have discussed what we think the Pirates have or don't have in Grandal. What do you say?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Grandal's going to be fine. He's a guy, in my opinion. I mean, if Henry Davis is serviceable and can hit and can field adequately, they need to play Henry Davis. It doesn't do anybody any good to waste reps on Yasmani Grandal. Now, he can be a timeshare guy. He can be a backup, and that's totally fine. And if Henry Davis doesn't pan out, or if he doesn't hit, doesn't play well defensively, then I understand sending him to the minors. But I don't know. I'm like neither up nor down about Grandal. Like, I want Davis to win the job because I think it makes the most sense for their team build. But he's going to call a good game. I wouldn't expect his starting pitcher to say, man, what a pain in the butt to work with. I mean, this is my first start. I hope it's the last one. Like, no, right. I mean, they're not going to do that.
Sure. But I'm in the same camp as you. Assuming I'm hearing this correctly Grandal's been there before. He's a veteran.
It's fine. Yeah.
You don't need to keep giving the guy reps if you are trying to see what you got in Davis. I know you're balancing workloads and things of that nature, but I want to see more Davis before we continue having more catching discussions.
Yeah, I mean, Grandal's going to be there. We know that. I think it's neither spectacular nor terrible. Ideally, if you're a Pirates fan, like, don't you want Henry Davis to win the job? Doesn't that make the most sense? Don't you want to see the 1-1 pick come up here? And frankly, Davis has been fine behind the plate. I've had no issues with what he's done. I just don't see the point of playing Grandal all that much if Davis is serviceable.
Yeah, and certainly we're going to find out here. It's something to keep tabs on the rest of spring, and we'll, of course, check in again with you guys with more video content here. But that's going to do it for today's video, recapping this after the Pirates' first spring training win. We'll catch you guys all again soon.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.